Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy Podcast. It is October 5th, 2024. This is episode 285. Stand-up comedian, actor, improviser, and dreamer. Paul Green, sharing my journey as I navigate the many ups and downs of pursuing my dream as a stand-up comedian. And today was a pretty interesting day. So, it started out with me helping my girlfriend put some pavers down in her backyard. And I was reminded just how freaking hot Arizona is right now. And after doing that, I then went to my rehearsal for my sketch comedy group. If this is your first time joining me, you got a lot to catch up on. But I am currently cast in a sketch comedy group here in Arizona, and we are working towards our performance in November. And it's been really fun. The sketches are starting to come together. We've been rehearsing for about a month and a half, and it's just starting to get to the point now where, the cast is getting off book, and so the rehearsals now are flowing a little bit better. The sketches are flowing better. We're starting to find where the comedic beats are and some of the subtleties and nuances of each of the sketches. So that was fun. And then on my way home, I need to back up here a little bit. So another thing that I have been involved in is the Midlife Crisis comedy show, which is a 2-person comedy show that I have been working on building with my comedian friend Josh Noby, who actually has been in Iowa. And so it has pretty much been me and our manager who helps us out, Lily, has just pretty much been me and her running the company, because Josh is out in Iowa filming a movie. So what we have been trying to do is market and produce local shows here in the Phoenix area and really build our brand. And we have been trying to figure out who we can bring on board to really help us with advertising. And a guy who was helping us out, unfortunately, had to quit recently. So now it's back on our plate. And so I have been on Upwork trying to find somebody else to help with advertising. So last night, I got in contact with this guy who had a bunch of suggestions. However, he said, I don't actually do the video editing or the creative stuff myself, but I will map out and tell you everything that I think you should do. So while I'm driving home from this rehearsal, I get a message from him on Upwork just saying, hey, I put together a document for you. So I get home, pull up this document. It's very thorough. He did a good job, but he started recommending these different ads that he thought I should create. And I just went, okay, let me try to do this. So the first ad that he recommended, it took me about 3 hours to piece all the clips together, to do the creative, to do the editing. And a lot of the nuance and details he didn't really map out. He pretty much just had watched a handful of our videos, and he said, I think that you should, take minute 1.5 from this clip for 10 seconds and then piece that together with this clip and then put here and blah, 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 blah. So he pretty much just sort of gave me the montage of clips to use, but then everything else was just sort of on me, which, that's not like my gift. It's not my strong suit. It's not what I want to be doing, but we're kind of getting to crunch time here. So we've got 2 shows coming up, and we're sitting at 0 ticket sales again. I just got to tell you something. I am so sick and tired of sitting at 0 ticket sales on just show after show after show. It's just demoralizing. And not every show's been sitting at 0, but we've had far more shows really struggle to sell tickets than shows that have sold well. And even the shows that have sold well, we ended up not really coming out on top in terms of positive ROI. So, it's a grind. It's a struggle. And so I've pretty much spent. So what I did last night, sorry, I'm all over the place on this podcast episode today. What I did last night was I went back into our Facebook ads history and I found the ads that had sold the most tickets. And I spent several hours updating those ads to be specific to the upcoming shows. And then I spent about 3 hours tonight creating a new ad based off of this guy's recommendation to try to throw into the mix. All in the hopes that one of these ads will start clicking and we'll actually be able to start moving some tickets here. That is the hope anyway. So I did a bunch of work on that, got that ad created, and then around 8 o'clock, I got a message in this group chat that I'm with the booker of my hometown local club, JP's Comedy Club, that he needed somebody to come in and fill in and do some time in the 9 p.m. show. So I was like, oh, heck yeah, I will jump on that opportunity. So after pretty much working all last night on ads, waking up, doing some yard work, moving some heavy pavers from Home Depot to my girlfriend's backyard, then going to rehearsal for 3 hours, and then coming home, creating another ad for about another 3 or 4 hours, then going and doing stand-up comedy, and now I'm doing my podcast. And by the way, I don't even get to go to bed yet because I have to help another client with some software stuff. Yes, I still have to work with clients because I am in the process of pursuing my dream of being a successful comedian to the point to where I don't need to work with clients, but that is not today's reality. So I'm going to get off this podcast, open up my computer, and jump right back into more work, more computer stuff, because I need to get some stuff done for my client by tomorrow morning. So this has been a heck of a busy day, but my gosh, I'm just so grateful that I even get to do all of this stuff, that, I'm able to do stand-up, I'm able to rehearse with the sketch comedy group, and that, I even have a comedy show to try to figure out how to market and advertise, and diving into ads and advertising and just looking at it as an opportunity to be creative and to market my brand, to market mine, Josh's brand, and to just think, how can I connect with an audience? How can we sell tickets? How can we drive our brand? How can we share more laughter and love with the world, and then getting to go do stand-up tonight. And it was so fun. It was one of the funnest sets I've had in a long, long time. The audience was really great. They were a little bit smaller, but they were so much fun. And Jim, the owner, gave me 20 minutes. It's pretty rare for me to get 20 minutes of stand-up. And it was so fun because I got to be so loose. And it was almost like the antithesis of what I was just doing a week ago. If you follow the podcast, a week ago, I was in Las Vegas at the World Series of Comedy, which is a very strict stand-up comedy competition. And they are so strict about your time frames. And you have to be so on point with your jokes. They don't want you doing any crowd work. They just want you to do your routine. And so I was being so strict and so married to my script, and I didn't stray at all in any of the shows that I did. And that's kind of murder for me because I'm an improviser and I love riffing and I love being off the cuff. And so because I had 20 minutes, I knew that I had the material and, to fill the time. I just had so much fun, and I just cut loose, and I was riffing, and I was going off script and weaving back into the script whenever I needed to. And I just had one of the most fun times doing stand-up comedy in a long time. So that was really fun, and I'm really grateful for that. So with that, I am now ready to do a little bit of commentary. So if you follow the podcast, I've adapted this format to where at first I talk about myself and my dreams. And then the second thing I like to do on this podcast is talk about a book that I'm reading in the self-help, mindset, positivity, going for dreams, sort of that genre of book. I've always loved those types of books. I love learning as much as I can on what it takes to be successful, on what being successful looks like, what it feels like, how you have to think, how you have to show up, how you have to behave, the habits, the mindset, all of that. And I always just love trying to fill my mind with as much positive information as possible, because anybody can tell you, especially anybody going for a dream, there can be so much discouragement, so much negativity, so many setbacks, so many reasons staring you right in the face as to why you're not going to be successful, all of the reasons why you won't make it, how everything is stacked against you, the odds are stacked against you, the numbers are stacked against you. You see all of these people who, you view as having more resources and more opportunities than you, who are struggling, who aren't successful. I mean, there's just so many opportunities to be negative and to quit or to give up. And I just find it incredibly valuable to fill my mind with as much counter information as possible. And so interestingly enough, the last two books that I have been commentating on all had the word magic in them. So the book I just finished was called The Magic of Thinking Big. And this book that I'm currently reading I listen to it on Audible, is called The Magic Mindset. And this book is very much in the same vein as the one I just read. So I've been getting a heavy dose of the effectiveness of looking at my mindset. How am I thinking? How am I processing? What emotions am I feeling? What decisions am I making based off of those emotions? How am I processing setbacks and discouragement? How am I processing positive experiences? How am I processing what people are saying to me? Am I allowing myself to get offended too easily? Am I allowing myself to get discouraged? Am I showing up with a bad attitude? Am I being negative? Am I being critical? And the answer is yes to all of those. There is plenty of room for improvement. Let me put it that way. So, the first chapter of The Magic Mindset is the trouble with positivity. So, this chapter I appreciated because right off the bat, it is sort of checking itself a little bit. It's acknowledging that there is there is a trouble or a difficulty or a setback to this idea of positivity, positive thinking, and that sometimes this idea of positivity can maybe get somewhat misconstrued, or maybe inflated or exaggerated, or maybe misunderstood. Because let's face it, there are plenty of things that can go wrong in life that can be so tragic and so difficult that simply writing it off with well, you should just be more positive is not only tremendously disingenuous, it's also probably not actually true or accurate. It's like, no, there actually are very tragic, horrible things that can happen. And if I'm understanding what this chapter is saying, I'm just obviously sort of summarizing while also creating somewhat of an amalgamation of the chapter as well as my own thoughts on the matter. So I don't really know how much of this is the book and how much of this is just my own philosophy that I'm merging with the book, thoughts on the trouble with positivity. But one thing that I've really learned probably later in life is that sometimes it really is just okay to have a bad day or to have a bad experience or to grieve or to be upset or to be discouraged. I don't really feel or think that people advocating for positivity or having a positive mindset are suggesting that negative emotion will not occur and that negative emotion is not justified. I think it's quite the contrary. What I have learned actually is that I think it's actually more detrimental to ignore or to subdue or to not allow oneself to experience the negative emotion. It's okay to be like, oh man, that really sucks. Or like, oh man, that's really discouraging. Or man, that's heartbreaking. Or that's disappointing. Or that is upsetting. That is angering. That is sad. That is depressing. That is hurtful. Like, those emotions are all part of the human experience. However, where I feel positivity is, how do I word this? How I view positivity in the light of negative experience is that even within those negative experiences, when they happen, there is always going to come the question of, well, what do I do about it? No matter what it is. You get in a car wreck, that sucks. And it's okay to be like, man, that sucks. That is a crappy day. I'm kind of weird. I don't know if this is weird. Every time I'm on the street and I'm driving and I see a car accident, you see the lights, you see the tow truck, you see the emergency vehicles, you see the people standing out there. My heart breaks every single time. And every single time I drive by a car accident, I will usually say out loud, if not to myself, and I'll just, okay, I like to believe that maybe we are connected as human beings and that my thoughts might have some sort of influence on the world. I don't know if they do, but I like to believe that they do. This could also maybe be consistent with those who believe in prayer, right? The belief that if they offer up a prayer, to God, or, maybe people who believe in meditation or put positive vibes into the universe, that those thoughts are actually absorbed and, into some sort of ether or into some sort of collective consciousness and may have some sort of effect on the world at large. All right. So I like to believe that maybe I have that influence. And again, I don't know if I do, but I like to believe that I do. And so when I drive by an accident, I will say out loud, guys, I'm so sorry. That is just a sucky day. and I'm sending you so much love. And I don't know these people. I don't have to know them because they just got in a car wreck. That's a crappy day. And, especially if somebody got hurt, usually you don't always know. Sometimes you know, right? You can see an ambulance, but, and I look at that and I go like, yeah, that's a crappy day. And to look at, those people who just went through that experience and just go like, well, just be positive. Well, you just got to think positive. Again, how disingenuous is that? It's like, no, that's sucky. That's a crappy day. And it is okay to just feel crappy for a little bit. And again, every time I drive by an accident, that's my thought is, man, my heart breaks for you guys, you people, whatever just happened. That's a crappy day. I'm sending you so much love. I hope everybody's okay, right? I put that out in the ether. Now, again, does that mean anything? I don't know. Not my place. But that's just where my heart and mind goes to, right? So where does positivity come in to play in that scenario? Well, for those people involved, or for us, whenever the crappy thing happens to us, which it does to everybody, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something. Nobody gets a free ride without something crappy happening, whether it's a health thing, whether it's a financial thing, whether it's a relationship thing, whether it's, an accident, a flood. Heck, most of the people in my company, the company, my day job is based out of South Carolina, and a bunch of people in my company are completely their houses, their property, everything completely destroyed in the hurricane. Crappy things happen, and it's okay again to be like, man, this is crappy. That is a crappy day. That is discouraging. That is depressing. That is heartbreaking. That is unjust, whatever it is. However, where I feel positivity comes in is once you've allowed yourself the grace and the freedom to feel the negative emotion, to acknowledge it, to give it a voice, to give it credence, there always comes the question, what next? What am I going to do about it? And that, to me, is where the positivity can always come into play and can create a better outcome than if the what do I do next is done so with a negative attitude. And that, to me, is the challenge, and it's been the challenge throughout my life. Because I've had to be honest with myself about this. I do feel like I have leaned somewhat negative in my life. I've leaned somewhat cynical. I've leaned somewhat calling the wambulance. To use a metaphor that my friends used to use in high school. Right? I mean, I even was doing it today. It's like, I've got to go create all of these ads for this show. None of the ads that were set up before are working, and the people who tried to help me before didn't, set up ads that were selling, and now I got to take it all over and blah, 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 right? Pretty bad attitude. And I was complaining to, my friend who is also been so great and has helped me out with so many things and is pretty much managing the business as well. And I was complaining to her about it. Like, oh, I got to do all of this extra work, and we're not selling any tickets, and me. So I have tried on this podcast to be as transparent as possible with how flawed I am at the very principles that I'm espousing, because I do not ever want to come across as somebody who thinks that they are in a position of superiority to preach any of these principles from a point of perfection or a point of proficiency at exercising these principles. Really what this is a journey of me recognizing my own shortcomings in so many of these areas, which are areas that I actually do believe that if I were to master them, I would get so much better results. Even with what I just said, like what did I say? That if you have a positive attitude towards the behaviors that you or the actions that you have to take after something discouraging, that you will have a better outcome than if you do it with a negative outcome. And it's like, I'm already dealing with that, right? We had a guy who was helping us out with ads. He had to quit. The ads that he posted were not selling any tickets. So I had to step in and redo the whole thing and recreate ads and pretty much start all over again, which we've started over so many times, to try to get compelling ads posted to sell tickets. And we're at 0 ticket sales. And I had a bit of a negative attitude towards it. So that is going to be my challenge as I self-reflect and try to determine how I can show up better and show up more effective and get better positive results. So everybody, I am fully aware of the trouble with positivity, and I am working on it, and I am striving to exercise greater positivity in my own life and in my own pursuit of my dreams. And, if you want to give it a try too, let's see if we can produce perhaps some better results for ourselves with a more positive mindset towards the things that we need to get done, whether they are our fault or not. And let's just see what happens. All right, everybody. That is all for today. This is the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, October 5th, 2024, episode 285. I love you all so much. I hope your dreams are coming true, and I will talk to you tomorrow.